Hi, it's Stacy with Families with Grace, and happy Giving Tuesday. It's kind of exciting. I like the concept of Giving Tuesday. I like the reminder to continue to keep giving, especially during a season that's consumed with so many distractions and even just downright greed. And so that's what I want to talk about today. Giving as a family is incredibly important. We have tried to make it a priority in our family and involve our kids as much as we can. However, when I talked with them about giving just this morning, they didn't realize everything that we do. They knew some of it, but they didn't know all of it. And they hadn't thought about how some of what we do is giving without spending money. So I've learned that we need to be even more intentional about showing and talking with them about giving and about what we're doing. I've heard people say that children need to be taught how to give because it goes against our human nature. And that's definitely true to an extent. Just try asking a toddler to share his favorite toy with you. It's probably not going to go well. But I've also seen the innocence of my kids when we are driving and we see someone holding a sign on the side of the road asking for food or asking for help. And they'll ask why the person's there. And they would ask, why are we not helping them? Because in their little minds, if someone needs help, you give it. And that's the attitude that we have tried to encourage and to build on. I think we all want to teach our kids how to give and how to look out for others. And we found a few ways to do that as a family. We're going to continue working on it and talking about it with our kids even more. We've done our best to involve them as much as possible and the ways that they can at the ages that they are. So one of the things that we do is we start a fund for giving. When our children turn 5, they start getting a weekly allowance based on their ages, which is $1 per year. We use an envelope system, and they have an envelope for saving, for spending, and for giving. For example, when they're 5, like our youngest is now, the money is divided each week as $3 for saving, $1 for spending, and $1 for giving. And then we talk about how they want to spend their giving money every month or two as it accumulates. When we first did this with our daughter, I assumed she'd just want to give her money to the offering at church. But when we asked her, she actually wanted to do something more tangible. So as we talked about it with her and went over some of the options of things that she could do, we decided to buy food for a local food pantry. Since then, that has taken off. We've matched her money to buy food, and so have my parents. And then she had an opportunity to help distribute the food from a food pantry out of a local church. She decided then that we needed to do more. So as a result, we went in and talked with the pastor at our church and asked our church members to start bringing in food for the pantry. That was 3 years ago, and we're still involved with that same food pantry. And it all started with a few dollars in a giving envelope. Another thing that we do is try to find tangible ways to give, like the food pantry. That's been a very tangible way for us to give as a family, and that's continued. Our kids love going to the store and finding good deals, figuring out how many things like cans of food we can buy with the money that they have, or how many rolls of toilet paper we can get. We have done our best each time that we take food to the food pantry to ask what the pantry most needs, because we want to be actually helpful and buy things that they actually need and not just things that we assume they might need. For the record, our food pantry requests toiletries the very most throughout the year because these things are in high demand since they're not covered by food stamps and lots of people do not think to donate them. During the holiday season, however, they need especially holiday dinner food and cash to buy turkeys or hams. Our son has enjoyed working with and helping get things for the food pantry, but he's had some other ideas as well. So we try to encourage them however they're thinking of giving. Sometimes our kids have thought of giving money to a family member who needed something. Other times they've wanted to give it to church or for a special offering, and still other times they want to give it to a different charity. Locally, for example, we have an organization that collects money to provide Christmas for families who can't afford it otherwise. Our church works with this charity, and so does the kids' school, and they loved being involved with that also. Which brings us to also trying to make giving fun. It doesn't take much to make most giving fun. For example, my kids find it fun even to be involved in the process of deciding what to buy for the food pantry. The last time around, my son used his money to buy a box of Honey Nut Cheerios. It wasn't why we were there that day. That day we were focusing on canned food and toiletries, but it was his money, and I'm sure that box of cereal went to good use, and someone really appreciated having it. Usually on the trips to the grocery store, when we go for our own selves, they're not very involved with making the decisions of what to buy. I'm in charge of that. So having a chance to pick things out is fun for them. Their school also does a really good job of making giving fun, especially this time of year. For that same local Christmas charity I mentioned, the kids could bring in money to vote for which team of teachers would win in a silly race. They could also choose to spend $1 to send a note with a piece of candy to a classmate. My kids each got a kick out of sneaking to the office to do this for each other, which was incredibly sweet, and I loved every minute of that. Another thing that we try to do is to remind them why they're giving. Everybody likes to be encouraged and to be cheered on. And should we give to get credit and accolades? Nope. But kids do need to be encouraged and reminded of why they're giving. We tried to talk about all the families who will be helped through the food pantry or other programs. We talk about what it would be like to come home from school and not be able to find any food in our own pantry at home for a snack and wonder if there would be even anything to eat for dinner. We remind them that their giving is helping some families to avoid that reality. Another thing that we do work on is volunteering together. And just like I was telling my kids this morning, there are also ways to give that don't involve spending money. In fact, spending your time is just as important. This is an area where we need to probably work more on our kiddos. They don't always see the things we do as giving our time, and that's okay. But I want to encourage them to do the same. While they have helped with the food pantry, there are other volunteer opportunities around the community that they can be involved with. We have struggled to do some organized volunteer activities these last few years. I've had some more intense health issues than usual, but we've still found some ways. For a year and a half, I taught Sunday school class for children, and my own kids loved to help me prepare and test out crafts and different lessons for me. I also reminded them that giving to others can be just as simple as seeing a friend or family member who needs help with something and jumping right in to assist them. Opportunities to give to others abound around us if we just open our eyes to see them. It doesn't have to be something dramatic. Sometimes just a small little change can make a big difference. And then the last thing that we try to do is we try to be an example for them. Last week, my husband was gone for the entire week. He missed having Thanksgiving with us, and we missed him tremendously, but we also supported him being gone. He began working with Team Rubicon a couple of months ago as a volunteer. Team Rubicon is a nonprofit organization of volunteers that sends people to areas of disasters to help aid in cleaning up and rebuilding. Once he got his FEMA certification, my husband was ready to go. So 2 Saturdays ago, we drove him to the airport and he left for Florida to help clean up from the devastation of Hurricane Michael. Before he left, we had a family discussion about it over dinner and let the kids ask him questions and what they wanted to know about why he was going on this trip. They were curious about what he would be doing, but they were also curious as to why he was doing it. He told them he felt like if there's something that he could do to help, then he should do it. He also said sometimes you have to let yourself be an answer to someone's prayer. And I love that. While giving money is good and helpful, sometimes you need to literally be God's hands and feet. I don't think there's any better answer than that as to why to give. So I encourage you to find some ways to give with your family, to work with your children, and come up with some ways as a family to volunteer, to give back, to do things for your community. Thanks.